competitive Pokemon's most famous games are often defined by flashy plays and absurd reads.
Tevon top goes for the fake out onto the Bronzong, but nothing else.
Players taking huge risks in high-stakes scenarios, soul-reading their opponents to clinch wins. But competitive Pokemon is more than just making reads, with layered and sophisticated matches being the hallmark of the VGC experience. And at the 2024 Louisville Regionals, we were able to witness a stunning showcase of this sophistication and complexity in VGC. So, in this video, I'd like to peel back the layers and help break down this masterclass of resource management orchestrated by Wolfe and Andrew. Andrew, Zheng, and Wolfe Glick are playing in the top 8 of the Louisville Regional Championship, one of 11 major tournaments for the 2025 North American VGC season. With these major tournaments not only acting as standalone events for players to strive to win, but also as feeder tournaments that play a large role in determining who will represent North America at the World Championship this year. Now sitting in the quarterfinals, Andrew and Wolfe are just a few matches away from becoming the Louisville Regional Champion. For Wolfe, this would be his 10th regional win, and for Andrew it would be his first. Andrew's 6 Pokemon, Amoonguss, Incineroar, Sneasler, Garchomp, Porygon 2, and Goldengo, are actually an already pre-established team that were run by Maddie Morgan at the Dortmund Regionals, where Maddie brought home an incredible second place finish. Andrew's team has access to all the key tools a team wants. Damage mitigation through Sneasler and Incineroar with Intimidate, Parting Shot, and Coaching, powerful attacking pieces with Goldengo and Garchomp, and finally P2, who serves as a core piece of this team, offering speed control, incredible bulk, and staying power, and under the right circumstances, potent offense as well. Over on Wolfe's side, we see a similar team, but with a few notable differences. Wolfe is using Incineroar, Porygon 2, Yanmega, Sneasler, Ursaluna, and Archaludon. This team carries great options for speed control, with Speed Boost Yanmega offering a fast Tailwind option, allowing his team to outspeed mid-speed or non-Tailwind based teams. Or Wolfe can utilize Trick Room with P2, relying on his slow pieces of P2, Ursaluna, and Incineroar. And looking at his other pieces, Archaludon is using Stalwart, which gives Wolfe an option for getting around redirection, which has been very popular so far in this format. This allows for Wolfe to disrupt his opponent's defensive game plans and strategies for handling Arch. And finally, Wolfe's Sneasler is different from Andrew's Sneasler, choosing instead to run Throat Chop for damage coverage, while running White Herb since Yanmega is holding the Focus Sash. This allows for Sneasler to negate the first Intimidate and gain a massive speed boost, or self-proc the item through the use of Close Combat, which can give Sneasler back some critical bulk that may save its life for an extra turn. Looking at Andrew's 6, Wolfe has to respect the possibility of getting speed sandwiched by fast mons like Garchomp and Sneasler applying pressure outside of Trick Room, while Amoonguss can be used to threaten lots of Wolfe's team in Trick Room. Yanmega gives Wolfe a way out of this, allowing him to take speed control with Tailwind, letting pieces like Ursaluna move before Goldengo and potentially Garchomp, and Yanmega also has the right typing to be able to usually handle Sneasler as well. P2 can also aid with this by threatening Trick Room with Ursaluna, relying on Ursaluna's Flame Orb and Incineroar's Safety Goggles to negate the impact Amoonguss provides Andrew. P2 will also be an incredibly important resource for Wolfe, as it has the necessary bulk and longevity to hang around in the match for multiple turns, recovering damage dealt and eating powerful attacks. Ursaluna, as already mentioned, is probably Wolfe's best offensive option, being able to one-shot or nearly one-shot every Pokemon on Andrew's team. However, Incineroar is perhaps the most important resource on Wolfe's team. Its ability to reduce damage output, deny turns with Fake Out, and to remove key items like Life Orb and Eviolite gives Wolfe's team far better pass forward for trading damage favorably. Wolfe's other pieces, Sneasler and Archaludon, will have a harder time in this matchup. Arch, without sturdy stamina or Assault Vest, is far more vulnerable to attacks and might struggle to thrive in a longer, more drawn-out battle, something Andrew can force with P2, Incin, and Amoonguss. And Wolfe's Sneasler would also struggle with a slower-paced game, with Andrew's Amoonguss and Incineroar being effective disruptors over the course of a long game. For Wolfe, this means that, at least initially, there exists a clear option in Pokemon selection, with Arch and Sneasler wanting to sit out unless Andrew takes a far more rapid approach to the set. Now, back to Andrew's side. The first Pokemon to note are Porygon 2 and Incineroar. These two want to come to the matchup for all the same reasons as Wolfe's Incin and P2. They provide a great combination of bulk, damage mitigation, and speed control. Goldengo is also relevant in this matchup due to the damage output it provides and its ability Good as Gold, giving it immunity to Wolfe's main method of reducing said damage output. Meaning, Goldengo will be Andrew's most reliable source of damage for this set. Now Andrew has to think about what the 4th slot will be in his games. It's rather easy to eliminate Garchomp, as it will need Sneasler's coaching in order to have its desired impact, as well as Terra in order to drop its massive ice weakness. Sneasler is able to hit 4 Pokemon on Wolfe's team for super effective, and without redirection, Wolfe will only be able to save one of them from being hit by a super effective move. And additionally, with coaching, Sneasler can still boost Incineroar and P2's offensive and defensive outputs. But Wolfe's Incineroar can throw a wrench in this plan with Parting Shot and Intimidate, so it will be important to position for this properly. Amoonguss, on the other hand, gives Andrew a great supportive tool that can apply huge pressure on lots of Wolfe's team, especially if Trick Room is up. But Wolfe's Incineroar and Ursaluna can position themselves properly to make things difficult for Amoonguss, and under the wrong circumstances, Amoonguss might get cleared from the field before it's able to do anything useful. So it will also be important to look to create the right scenarios for Amoonguss to succeed. With that overview out of the way, we can now dive into the match. Hey guys, just before we dive into the match here, I want to say, if you're enjoying the video and you want to see more like this, I would really appreciate you taking a second to subscribe. As the match starts, Wolfe leads Incineroar and Yanmega, while Andrew leads Sneasler and Porygon 2. Wolfe's lead gives him a lot of flexibility and also stands well into the current board state, with Intimidate and Fake Out Pressure already putting in work. And on the other hand, we see that Andrew has decided to bring Sneasler to this game, hoping to get value from close combat and coaching, with the former already placing pressure on Wolfe's Incineroar. Taking a second to assess these leads, we can already say Wolfe is in a slightly positive position at this point in time. As the first turn starts, we see Andrew go for a close combat into Wolfe's Incin, laying down some great early damage. And at the same time, Wolfe goes for a safe play, air slashing into the Sneasler so he can make sure that Sneasler will be brought down to its focus sash if it wants to move this turn, and using Parting Shot on P2 to reduce its damage output while getting a relatively safe reposition. Wolfe brings in Ursaluna here in case of Andrew setting up Trick Room, which would allow for Ursaluna to move before Sneasler and KO it, but instead, Andrew chooses to Ice Beam the Yanmega and break its sash. Also in this turn, one of many important speed ambiguities is revealed. Both players' Incineroars, both players' Porygon 2s, and Ursaluna are all sitting in roughly the same speed tier, meaning any of them could be faster than the other based on how the players choose to invest speed into them. And in this case, we learn that Wolfe's Incin is likely faster than Andrew's P2. Wolfe is now in an incredibly strong position. Here he can remove Sneasler from the board before it can move, while also threatening huge damage into P2. Andrew can attempt to absorb this damage output by swapping in Incin to intimidate Ursaluna and get a fake out the following turn, while Sneasler would protect. But Wolfe finds a better line that can catch a wider variety of plays from Andrew. By using Terra on Ursaluna, Wolfe removes the need to hit Sneasler before it moves, and allows for Yanmega to attack the P2 slot, while Ursaluna goes for an Earthquake, which can massively punish any potential switches or maximize the damage dealt to P2 while still removing Sneasler if it doesn't protect. And unfortunately for Andrew, switching an Incin is exactly what he did. The combination of Bug Buzz and Earthquake immediately removes Incin from the field, and now Andrew's position is looking dire. However, Andrew now reveals his fourth Pokemon, Gholdengo, who actually applies great offensive pressure into Wolfe's board, with Make It Rain threatening to remove Yanmega and also deal great damage into Ursaluna, or Shadow Ball threatening a KO into just Ursaluna. Responding to this pressure, Wolfe uses P2 here as a defensive pivot, allowing him to reset the Intimidate off of Ursaluna while also setting up Tailwind for later. Andrew, on the other hand, respects the immediate damage Tailwind plus Headlong Rush threatens, and Terra's Gholdengo, hoping that after an Intimidate and type change, Gholdengo would be able to survive the attack and KO Ursaluna in return. Unfortunately, this play gets perfectly countered by Wolfe's defensive pivot, with Shadow Ball dealing no damage. Sneasler then rounds out the turn by sending a Dire Claw into Yanmega, getting a crucial poison that removes Yanmega from the field. However, this just gives Wolfe a free switch into Ursaluna, meaning he can get even more usage out of his Tailwind turns. At this point, it is now near impossible for Andrew to win this game, but he can still use the remaining turns to gather information. Knowledge. At the start of the turn, Andrew's Sneasler moves first, revealing it's still faster than both Ursaluna and P2 when Tailwind is up. It uses this opportunity to close combat P2, dealing just over half. And at the same time, Andrew switches Dengo out to safety, looking to try and reposition for a turn where Gholdengo can get an attack off into Ursaluna more safely. But Wolfe's Ursaluna still deals huge damage to the freshly swapped in P2, threatening to remove it from the field the following turn, with Andrew no longer having a means of stopping the damage. And Wolfe's P2 removes Sneasler from the field, reducing Andrew down to his final two Pokemon. From here, Wolfe cleans up the game, attacking first into the target that can't protect and then knocking out Gholdengo afterwards. Looking back at the game, we can see that Wolfe was able to hold on to his momentum from turn 1 and generate even more momentum by making smart plays that capitalized on the binding positions he placed Andrew into. After that game, Andrew sees two main adjustments he can make. 1. If he gave better support to Gholdengo alongside its Terra Water, it would be able to make favorable damage trades. And 2. By using knockoff early, Andrew can make Wolfe's team very susceptible to Amoonguss in the mid and late game, making Spore and Trick Room a much more potent threat. With this knowledge in hand, Andrew looks to adapt for Game 2. Andrew shifts his lead to Incineroar in P2, while Wolfe keeps the same lead as before, waiting to see how Andrew adapts before making any major changes. However, Andrew's adaptations are already benefiting him. Andrew can now pressure Wolfe's Incineroar slot and get huge value out of a knockoff, no matter what is there to take it. Wolfe could swap out Yanmega to get Ursaluna in, and Fake Out to deny any potential knockoffs, ensuring Ursaluna will be burned by its Flame Orb, but an Ice Beam from P2 would deal massive damage even without the special attack boost. Instead, Wolfe chooses to get some chip down on Incin with Air Slash from Yanmega, working to remove it as a resource for Andrew, while also using Parting Shot into P2 to swap in Ursaluna again. However, Andrew's knockoff critically removes Ursaluna's Flame Orb before it can be burned. This massively reduces the damage output Ursaluna provides and removes its Spore immunity, making Wolfe's position against Trick Room significantly worse. And Andrew also Ice Beams into the Yanmega slot, breaking its Sash again. Thanks to the chip from before, Wolfe's Ursaluna is threatening a KO with EQ into Incineroar, and Wolfe angles on this play, using Tailwind from Yanmega to ensure that his Ursaluna goes first. But Andrew makes the right defensive play, setting up Trick Room and bringing in Amoonguss. This gives Andrew a commanding position and is the critical point at which Andrew takes over the game, as Wolfe is now massively on the back foot and wasn't able to deal great enough damage to Amoonguss on its switch-in. Andrew is now threatening Spore on both slots and can also start laying down damage that Wolfe will be unable to recover. Wolfe, feeling that he is behind, starts to take some risks, leaving Ursaluna open to a Spore from Amoonguss and switching in Incin on the other slot, with Incin threatening great damage while also being Rage Powder and Spore immune thanks to its safety goggles. But the play doesn't pan out and Andrew gets the Spore off into Ursaluna. Andrew also takes this opportunity to switch in Gholdengo safely, intending on abusing the speed dynamic Wolfe created by using Tailwind at the same time that Trick Room came online. From here, Andrew looks to reduce Wolfe's damage output through Incineroar while also setting up his Gholdengo to do big damage with Nasty Plot. And Wolfe looks to burn a Sleep turn while using Incin to start chipping away at Gholdengo. Andrew deals out massive damage to Wolfe's side, nearly KOing Ursaluna and getting great chip down on Incin, while also pivoting his own Incin back to Amoonguss. Wolfe then looks to set up a Tailwind as Trick Room ends, getting a delayed switch-in back to Yanmega through Parting Shot as Ursaluna continues to sleep. Wolfe then plays defensively on the final turn of Trick Room, using P2's bulk and ability to recover as a means of absorbing Andrew's offensive output, which leaves Andrew's Gholdengo back at a neutral special attack as Trick Room ends. Now, thanks to the speed control returning to normal and the special attack boost he got earlier, Wolfe uses this opportunity to try and clear Amoonguss from the board. Andrew goes for a more middle ground play, accepting that Amoonguss will likely be KO'd, but he wanted to still apply pressure with it in case Wolfe went for a different line. This means that after Amoonguss is KO'd, Gholdengo gets to freely attack again and remove Yanmega from the field, while putting additional damage down on Wolfe's P2. Both players now bring in Incineroar to apply pressure onto their opponent, and both opt for a setup turn, Wolfe recovering HP on his P2 so it can tank more hits, and Gholdengo setting up a Nasty Plot to boost its damage output again. Andrew is now concerned that a double up from Wolfe's Incin and P2 will be too much damage and remove Gholdengo from the board, so he looks to keep it safe for the turn. However, Wolfe has a different goal in mind. By removing Incin from the field, he can prevent future Intimidates, Parting Shots, and Fake Outs, so he aims to clear it from the field before it can deal any more damage. But Andrew's Incineroar is able to tank the double up and get a critical Parting Shot off into P2, allowing Andrew to feel more confident that Gholdengo can tank the extra hits. Andrew importantly also now has his own P2 in position, who is threatening super effective damage onto the left slot since Wolfe used Terrestrialization on Porygon 2 to make it a flying type. Now both players start trading damage, with Wolfe giving up more of Incin's health to reduce the damage output of Andrew's P2. At the end of the exchange, Wolfe's P2 is now low enough that a double up from Gholdengo and P2 will KO it. So, during the next turn, Wolfe is forced to pivot Incin back in, losing even more HP to try and generate a position where he can fake out the following turn, while also recovering with P2. Wolfe's Incineroar is now almost out of HP to give up, so it fakes out Gholdengo in order to preserve itself for another turn. Andrew uses this as an opportunity to reset his own P2, wanting to clear the special attack drop. Andrew could have used this opportunity to attack and forcibly remove Incin or Ursaluna, but Andrew was concerned that Wolfe would be able to get an Ursaluna and Trick Room and have it knock out Gholdengo, which would likely lead to a board state of P2 versus P2, which, if Wolfe timed his recover correctly, could end in a tie due to the match timer almost being expired. But if that position occurs with Andrew's P2 having neutral special attack, it should be able to deal enough damage to prevent that endgame scenario. Now Andrew can remove Incin this turn with Gholdengo, while his own Incin fakes out P2, giving Andrew a free turn. But Andrew has a different problem that's been brewing for some time. Make it rain PP. Gholdengo only has 3 uses left of the move, and Ursaluna is immune to Shadow Ball, meaning that Andrew only has 3 solid chances left to hit Ursaluna before it moves, since it could be faster than both P2 and Incin. If Andrew were to use a Make It Rain into Incin now, Wolfe could get a double protect, allowing Ursaluna to lay down additional damage. So instead, Andrew chooses to set up again, improving the impact Make It Rain will have on P2. Wolfe uses this opportunity to parting shot and get Incin off the field, allowing him one final reposition. Wolfe then sets up Trick Room with P2, and Ursaluna wakes up to protect itself from Gholdengo, while Andrew reduces P2's damage output further, trying to trap it on the field with a low special attack while Dengo clears out Ursaluna. Wolfe is playing towards one final line. Now that Trick Room is up, he can hope that Ursaluna will underspeed Andrew's Incin or P2 and KO Gholdengo. At the same time, he can use the last bits of Incin's HP as a sacrifice to allow his own P2 to regain its special attack boost, giving it a damage edge that might let it beat out Andrew's P2 and Incin. However, Andrew's P2 moves before Wolfe's Ursaluna and Trick Room and foils Wolfe's last chance of winning the game. Incin is cleared from the field after switching in, and Wolfe's P2 cannot convert the 1v3. The game score is now tied up at 1-1. Reviewing this game, we can see a massive shift in the cadence of play from both players. Amoonguss being brought to this matchup changed so much about how it operates, with Andrew and Wolfe looking to use their Incineroar's HP as a resource that allows them to disrupt their opponent, with both players playing a highly positional game. With Wolfe's goal being to minimize the damage output while he looks to slowly neutralize the position and find a way to remove Andrew's most immediately threatening piece, Amoonguss. And Andrew's goal being to deal out lots of damage while Incin and Amoonguss protect Gholdengo from damage, hoping to have made positive enough trades that Wolfe will be out of gas by the time it comes to removing P2 and Gholdengo from the field. With Andrew's game plan now revolving around Trick Room and Amoonguss, it doesn't make much sense here to adapt with bringing Sneasler or Archaludon, as they would both just be frailer, still Amoonguss weak Pokemon that don't offer much since they can easily be shut down by Andrew. However, it isn't necessarily the Mon selection that was the problem for Wolfe the last game, but instead their order. Ursaluna's Flame Orb getting knocked off on turn 1 was what spiraled this game out of his control. Amoonguss was able to get way too much done because Ursaluna was forced to respect it when it normally wouldn't have to. So, Wolfe can resolve this issue by leading Ursaluna and protecting, ensuring that the Flame Orb will proc and keep Ursaluna safe from sleep. As both sides lead their Pokemon, Wolfe shows his new game plan, with Ursaluna and Incin as his lead, hoping to fake out the slot that can deny Ursaluna's Flame Orb proc, while Ursaluna can still deal damage at the same time. However, Andrew's new lead of Incineroar and Amoonguss allows him to stop that game plan, since Incineroar would only be able to fake out one Pokemon, meaning the other could still shut Ursaluna down. Because of this, Wolfe instead forces a neutral turn, faking out Incin to prevent it from moving and protecting Ursaluna so Amoonguss cannot land any devastating spores. Now, both players need to think about how to best utilize their Incins as a resource for the rest of the match. Because of the offensive pressure Wolfe has with a guts-boosted Ursaluna, Andrew chooses to sacrifice Incin's HP in order to get a safe switch-in for Gholdengo through Parting Shot, and then has Amoonguss attempt to spore the Incineroar slot, hoping to punish Wolfe for potentially trying to sneak his own Incin off the field. Andrew now has Gholdengo in a decent position, but Amoonguss doesn't offer the right kind of protection, with Earthquake being able to get around Rage Powder and Flare Blitz threatening to likely put Amoonguss itself in range of that Earthquake. But Wolfe respects the possible Spore play and instead uses Knockoff to remove Amoonguss' Citrus Berry. Now Andrew switches Incin back in, risking losing it entirely, but doing so to reduce Wolfe's damage output further while also using Regenerator to heal Amoonguss. This damage reduction plus terrestrialization again is critical for creating an environment for Gholdengo to set up under so it can be the sweeper for the match. Critically only having to trade away less than half of his HP to Ursaluna's Headlong Rush while it sets up a nasty plot. Wolfe also went for Flare Blitz into Amoonguss, trying to clear it from the field in case it stayed in to use Rage Powder. Because of this, Andrew is able to keep his instant for just a bit longer, which will critically allow him to squeeze just a bit more value out of it. Wolfe, on the other hand, has barely lost any resources, but is currently under massive threat from Gholdengo. He has to think about how he wants to absorb the incoming damage, and chooses to use P2 as a switch-in for Ursaluna due to its natural bulk and its ability to regenerate HP. At the same time, Wolfe uses Insin's natural typing to also absorb the damage from Gholdengo, giving up some of the valuable resource of Insin's HP in turn for safe positioning. However, instead of going for a fake out to ensure a safer turn for Gholdengo, Andrew critically went for parting shot into Wolfe's Insin slot again, further preserving his own Insin for another future turn and also reducing the damage output of Yanmega, who has hit the field. Andrew then ends the turn by bringing in his own Amoonguss, who is in a good position to both threaten Spore and also provide protection for Gholdengo. Due to the threat of Spore, Wolfe chooses to swap P2 out into Insin, using its item and typing as a wall for both Spore and Make It Rain. However, Andrew opts for the defensive route with Amoonguss, using it to protect Gholdengo from harm's way. So, Yanmega ends up dumping its attack into Amoonguss. Andrew's Gholdengo then kicks off a Make It Rain, bringing Yanmega down to its sash and putting Insin's HP in the red, meaning Wolfe is running low on resources for damage reduction. Andrew now uses this as an opportunity to double pivot, reducing the damage Wolfe's Insin provides while also allowing Amoonguss to regain HP. Wolfe then uses Tailwind as an opportunity to allow Insin and Wolfe's other Pokemon to outspeed Gholdengo for the next few turns. And then Andrew's P2 eats the Flare Blitz that was meant for Amoonguss, absorbing the attack quite well. Yet again, Andrew was able to keep his Insin around after switching it in, allowing him to get even more value from it. Now Wolfe is stuck in a tricky situation. He has no way to stop P2 from getting Trick Room up, and Fake Out is threatening to clear Yanmega from the field. Andrew, however, has a different plan in mind, wanting instead to make sure to get the maximum value out of his Trick Room turns. So he chooses to have Incineroar Parting Shot, ensuring that either Amoonguss will switch in after Wolfe's Pokemon have moved, or Insin will be KO'd, still giving Amoonguss a safe switch in. Wolfe takes this opportunity to remove Andrew's Insin from the game with an Air Slash, taking away Andrew's access to Intimidate, Fake Out, and Parting Shot moving forward. While he also Flare Blitzes P2, crucially burning it and adding permanent chip to its HP, making its ability to recover its HP more difficult. At the start of the next turn, we see Andrew's true intention of bringing Amoonguss on the field. Andrew wasn't trying to spore the opposing field. Instead, he wanted to take advantage of Wolfe's more passive board state and use Pollen Puff to heal up his own Gholdengo. Wolfe, however, is able to identify that this is Andrew's plan and bug buzzes the P2 slot despite Spore being an immediate threat, ensuring that Gholdengo stays within range of a Facade from Ursaluna, who switched in from a Parting Shot from Insin. Wolfe now seems to be taking a lead in resources, with Andrew having an injured and burned P2, a roughly half HP Gholdengo, and an Amoonguss, with Insin out. But because of the current speed control, Andrew holds the on-board advantage, threatening to clear Yanmega and gravely injure Ursaluna. Andrew could sacrifice Amoonguss to save Gholdengo, but in the long term this might lose the game if Wolfe is able to correctly predict when Gholdengo would protect, once speed control is lost on Andrew's side. So instead, Andrew chooses to double into the Ursaluna with Pollen Puff and Make It Rain, giving Ursaluna just a couple more turns to live before it dies to Burn Chip. Wolfe then KOs Gholdengo with Facade, while Yanmega protects itself from the Make It Rain. Wolfe swaps both Ursaluna and Yanmega out, resetting Yanmega's special attack stat and losing Insin to a Terra Blast in the process. While Andrew also gets to fully restore Porygon's HP with a Pollen Puff, a critical management of P2's HP that will be vital once Trick Room is over. Wolfe then brings Ursaluna back on the field, knowing it can take one more turn of Burn Chip without being KO'd, and protecting it to get through the final turn of Trick Room. Unfortunately, P2 cannot protect and is put to sleep by Amoonguss. Now we can see the benefit of restoring P2's HP from earlier. If P2's HP was too low, Andrew would have been forced to sacrifice Amoonguss in order to preserve P2, but that would leave it in a 1v2 against Yanmega and Wolfe's P2. And since Andrew's P2 is burned and would have had to take care of Yanmega before having the 1v1 against Wolfe's P2, Wolfe would likely carry the advantage to win that endgame despite his P2 currently being asleep. Ice Beam Freezes would be Andrew's only line to victory. However, since Andrew's P2 is healthy, he can instead protect Amoonguss, preserving it for later so it can continue to apply Spore Pressure and side healing while Trick Room is up. Wolfe correctly reads the situation, trying to double into Andrew's P2, hoping for a KO, and Facade nearly gets there, but Wolfe's P2 staying asleep for its second turn allows Andrew to get Trick Room up with just a sliver of HP left. And then the turn ends with Ursaluna KOing itself from its burn chip, with Yamega switching in. From here, Wolfe only has one option left: get the RNG he needs. If Wolfe can either get a wake up on his third turn of being asleep, or if he can get Yamega to land a double protect, he will be able to undo Trick Room and regain speed control. From there, if he is able to correctly call whether Amoonguss protects or not, and also get an air slash flinch on P2 if Amoonguss does protect, Wolfe will be able to convert the game by finding the P2 versus P2 endgame which favors him, thanks to the Flare Blitz burn from earlier. However, P2 fails to wake up on the third turn, taking the maximum amount of sleep, and Yamega also fails to get the double protect, meaning Wolfe is now stuck in a nearly unwinnable 1v2 versus Andrew's P2 and Amoonguss. And from there, Andrew is able to finally knock out Wolfe's last Pokemon and be the victor of this incredible top 8 set. Both players did a remarkable job of trading away their resources to generate advantageous board states that gave them chances to take over the game. But ultimately, Andrew taking total speed control in the mid-game alongside correctly identifying which endgame resources he needed allowed him to just barely take the victory in an absolute marathon of a match. After this match, Andrew went on to win his top 4 and finals matches with continued impressive displays of high-level play, earning him his first regional win, making him the champion of the 2025 Louisville Regional, and cementing his spot in the World Championship at the end of this season.